Coach, what's some challenges that the Michigan State offense are going to give you?
I think a lot of challenges. They're a well-coached, highly efficient offense. We got a veteran quarterback. We got a veteran quarterback that understands the scheme. He gets the ball out on time, and they give him concepts where he has to go through his reads. It's not like an RPO offense where you're reading one guy and throwing it to one receiver, depending on the reaction of that defender. He's reading his keys and seeing the defense, and throwing the ball to the right guy. And he's got guys to throw it to. Those two guys on the edge are in my opinion, the best combo wide receivers that we'll have faced so far this year. Number 0 is a big, tall, 6'4", athletic. Obviously he's got basketball background and some basketball skills, so he understands how to high point the football and has great body control in the air. And number 1 is electric. Their O-line, I think this is the best offensive line that we'll have faced to date, just with the way they play with each other. The combo blocks, the way they cut off the backside of runs, physical running back. I mean, you look across the board, and they've got guys at every position, and they're well coached, and they got a good scheme.
Right, in the second half, you guys have got 17 points. What is the key to that? Is it did you throw it all at adjustments, or is it guys just feeling the game? Like, how have you guys been able to be so good in the second half?
I think it's a combination of both. You obviously get offenses that have their script and their designers of the week that they throw at you early, and once we sort of have weathered those storms and seeing like how, okay, this is how they're trying to attack us in the run game, these are the type of routes we're seeing in the pass game, and the ability of our guys that are playing to regurgitate what they're seeing on the field and that be accurate information, coupled with the guys in the box, relaying information down, and then making those minor adjustments, or saying, hey, we're in this set and we're in this coverage. These are the type of plays we're getting, and so to be aware of those, and then so you go back at halftime, you reaffirm the things that you've been talking about on the sideline in between series, and then our guys go out and they recognize and have recall and then go execute in the second half. I think that has been huge for us. It's been very beneficial, and like I've been saying all year, this is the best program in terms of communication and identifying accurate information in game that I've been around.
So you wouldn't say their halftime adjustments are overrated? Like, is that
no? Those are
really
real.
important?
Yeah. No, halftime adjustments are real. And then obviously those are all for naught if the guys that are playing don't recognize sets, recognize motions, recognize down and distance, and are able to recall from things that have happened earlier in the game.
I guess with you being on the field, how much does that, change your ability to do that and communicate to them when you're talking to them during a game?
Obviously being on the field, it's a lot easier to go, sit in somebody's face and talk to them one-on-one. But at the same time, like I try to let our staff talk to each position group. Like that is, in my opinion, like that's their time to get those corrections. So usually, I'll try to walk away from the defense, right after the series, and kind of go through what has happened with the guys upstairs, and then talk about the adjustments while the position coaches are drawing it up or relaying that information to their position group. And then I try to get a feel for what is happening during the game, and then if there's something that I need to specifically talk to a specific person or a position group, I'll go do that after I've calmed down from the previous series.
I guess with those designers of the week, like how much do you kind of pour into those versus just kind of assuming that teams will be who teams are prepared for a week, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like a team can't scrap who they are from an identity perspective, especially with a week's worth of preparation, right? Like you usually get more designers in a bye week, and we definitely did. Going into the Nebraska or after watching the Nebraska game, and so like you try to those designers. You obviously got to weather those storms and really rely on your your reads, your keys, your assignment to to be able to stop those things, right? Like obviously, if I'm an offensive coordinator and I've got these 3 or 4 design plays, those are design plays for a reason, right? They have obviously identified something that they feel like is a hole in what we have structurally, and so for us, it's being able to weather those storms and then come up with answers if they are problems, right? And sometimes they're not problems, but if they are problems, definitely being able to adjust and get that information relayed to our guys on the sideline is huge. And what has allowed that to happen and allowed that communication to be so effective is the fact that our offense has been on the field for long periods of time. So you have time to get information corrected, to get it adjusted, to get it taught, and then for the kids to get it, the players to get it learned and communicated. So that is our halftime adjustments and our in-game adjustments is just as much a beneficiary of what our offense has been able to do on the field.
Coach, college football playoffs rankings are coming out tomorrow night. Illinois is going to be in there likely for the first time in school history. What it'll mean to you and the staff and the players, you think?
Obviously, like we've said, once we started sort of being talked about on a national stage, like it feels good. Like it feels good to be recognized for the work that you put in, and for our guys, it's I'm proud of the product that they've presented up to this point. But at the end of the day, like we still have goals, we still have things that we're trying to accomplish, and so the focus is not on the ranking, it's not on hey, this is the first of first, and we haven't done this in a long time. Like those are all great, and it's definitely something to be proud of in the moment. But at the same time, we got to focus in on Michigan State right now, because our focus is just going to 1-0 this week, and that will remain true until the end of the season.
How would you
This show's on like 6 o'clock. Will you take time to watch or no?
No, not at all.
Okay.
How would you describe what you're getting out of Seth Coleman week to week this year?
Yeah, I mean it's huge. Like he is doing his job, and he's doing his job at a high level. Even though he might not have like the sack numbers, like he's responsible for a few turnovers this year just because of his length, his ability to get to the quarterback and affect the quarterback. Our pass efficiency defense and our interceptions and all those things are not just a result of how the secondary is playing. That is a team effort, because quarterbacks are rushed, right? Like we have seen backup quarterbacks multiple times this year, and when the ball is floating in the air, that's a lot easier ball to catch than a quarterback stepping into a throw and trying to make an accurate pass.
Right, your defense plays with an edge and a physicality, but your secondary especially. How do you foster that without letting it get out of control?
Obviously, I think it doesn't get out of control because guys, they want to win games, right? And if you're, I'm sure you guys have heard Coach B say it. Penalties, mental errors, and turnovers. Like penalties is number one on that deal, and so you got to play within the confines of the rules. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure, and that is one way to lose games, right? And so, if our goal is to win games, like you want to play with an edge, absolutely. Yeah, you want to be physical, absolutely. You want to be able to impose your will on your opponent, absolutely. You want to make the game personal, absolutely. But at the same time, it's all within the realms and the confines of the rules and of playing the game the right way.
Coach, more often than not, you've been able to take away the opposing team's, or at least limit the opposing team's best player. What's that process like during game week that leads to that? And do you have to change a lot from week to week?
We haven't really changed in terms of schematically what we're doing. We might have tweaked matchups, right, to make sure that who we feel like is our best matchup against their best matchup. Like we try to do those things and try to identify like, okay, this, like last week, right? Number 3 was obviously their best wide receiver. They like to stretch the ball down the field with him. The explosive plays came through him, and so we put Spoon on him. And when he was out on the edge, and Quan covered him while he was in the slot, and I guarantee you Kendall knew where he was at when he was in the post. And so, you pay attention to those things, and you identify what would set you up to be successful or give you the best chance to have success. But at the same time, like I feel like we're confident enough in our players. Like we have good players here. Like I think that kind of gets lost sometimes. Like, you know, I was joking with the defensive staff before the game. Like I'm confident on game days because we got players. Like we got good players. And so as long as we're not putting them in positions that are compromising in terms of what their run responsibility or their pass responsibility is, and we've got trust in them to go be who they are and to go make plays.
Maybe the offense sometimes goes into 4-minute mode in that fourth quarter several times this season, just having the lead, knowing all they got to do is flip the field and give it to you and your defense. You guys take pride knowing that it ultimately will come down to you guys in that fourth quarter when they do ultimately do that?
Yeah, I mean, we take pride in being on the field and playing the game, no matter what the scenario or the circumstance is. I do feel like we're playing a really good team football right now, complimentary football. You know, we get a turnover and put it in the red area last week, and they scored a touchdown like right now. You know, we had a mishap and turned the ball over, and we gave it back to them right now. And so, you know, all those things kind of go hand in hand. I talked about earlier being able to adjust on the sidelines is large part because of how our offense is possessing the football and moving the chains. And so, you know, that is the beauty of what this culture is, what Coach B has his vision of family. Like that is real. Like I've been at places where people preach family and preach togetherness and camaraderie and culture, but we live it. We live it every day. We have since Coach B took this post, and that's just another microcosm of that. Like this is a family, and we play off each other, and there are no egos. You can't have egos, right? If your head guy doesn't have an ego, then there, you know, I don't care if it's your coordinator or your position coach or your best players. Like there's no ego, so nobody cares who gets the credit. We just all understand that we're trying to do whatever it takes to win games, and however that happens, but that's the ultimate goal.
Are you at a place now where you expect multiple interceptions per game? How much has that become what you guys do?
You know, it is an expectation to get turnovers. You know, whether they're sack fumbles or fumble or an interception. You know, it's neither here nor there. But I will tell you, like the secondary thinks like, okay, that's what we do. It's what we expect. You know, but a lot of that is dictated on what type of offense you're playing and how many opportunities they're going to give you. But our guys have done a good job of setting the standard, setting the expectation, and trying to live that expectation week in and week out.
Did you know when he got here that C.J. Hart was going to be such a versatile player for you from a responsibility standpoint? Because he only played one game last year, so
Right.
we didn't get to really see it.
You know, we had an idea. You know, there's a reason why we brought him in, right? You do the film study and going all the way back to his high school days and see who he was or is as an athlete, and you know, how does that fit within the confines of your system, your scheme. So no, we don't bring guys in just to create depth or add bodies to the locker room. Like we bring guys in because we think that they can play, and you know, he has done that and more because of the way he's prepared and because of his work with tanking those guys in the weight room.
Kind of along the lines of the family and the ego thing you were talking about, it seems like your guys have bought into, whether it be the messaging from you and Brad or the coaching. Why do you think that's happened as profoundly as it has and so quickly as it has?
I think it's happened because it's genuine, right? Like, you know, it's easy to put a slogan out there, but if you're not living that and that's not who you are, like, you know, you're going to see right through that as a program or as a locker room. But because it's genuine and because it's authentic, it's easy to be consistent. And I think consistency, it builds trust, it builds belief, and so I think that's why there's been such a buy-in, and it's so tangible. Like you can feel the culture, you can feel the family aspect, and I think that's because it's genuine, it's authentic, and it's consistent.
In that second quarter against Nebraska, Sidney Brown tried to cut down that route, led to the Nebraska touchdown, but he was able to respond the rest of the game. Have 2 interceptions. What does that say to you for his ability to respond like he did?
It says to me that he's grown. You know what I mean? Like, and Sid will tell you this. You know, a year ago, you know, we might have lost him for the whole game. You know, he's so competitive. He's so hard on himself. He's such a perfectionist. When things don't go his way in the past, like that could have been have affected the next play, it could have affected the next series, it could have affected the entire game. And so, you know, was he upset on the sideline? Like, absolutely. Like, that was one of the times where you know, I couldn't go walk down and sort of gather myself on the sideline. Like, I had to go and talk to Sydney. And it's because he holds such a high standard of himself. And he realized he let one get away there. But you know, to see him sort of log the information, you know, snap out of it, and then go play what I think was his best game to date. Like, since I've been here, this is the best that I've seen Sidney Brown play. Just with his effort, his attention to detail, you know, making game-changing plays, and his physicality, and having all that be after a play where he got his eyes in the wrong spot and got beat is huge for me, because it just shows growth, and that's all I'm trying to do, is help these guys grow, you know, both on and off the field. And I think Sydney is a prime example of that, and just guys that are buying in, like we talked about, to the family culture, and really are pushing themselves to play at an elite level. And I think Sydney Brown is definitely doing that.